Welcome to Talking Again podcast. This is the TAP. I am your host, Fidel Avendaño. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast with stories from fascinating people, some of them my closest friends and family. I hope you enjoy the show. Now let's tap into it. First, we should start off by saying this is Talking Again podcast. I am Fidel. This is the TAP Studios. I'm here today with Mr. Paul Jaramillo.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate
No problem, man. Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely.
You have a middle name?
Michael.
Yeah. Paul Michael. Paul Michael sounds like a hairstylist. Oh, no, that's Paul Mitchell.
Paul Mitchell. Yeah.
Never mind. Paul Michael, how come you don't use Michael? Did anybody call you Mike? Maybe your family? Michael, Mikey?
Family.
Do they?
Sometimes, yeah.
I don't have a middle name.
Really?
Sometimes I wish I did. I'm a junior, though. So,
right.
But nobody calls me junior.
So you've never been called Junior, JR, nothing?
You know what? I think there might have been a cousin or two that might have said junior, but just because I don't respond to it, my parents never called me junior. Okay. I think if my mom, if they would have grown up calling me junior, I definitely would have been answering to junior. But yeah, man, I don't have a middle name. Sometimes I wish I had a middle name.
Well, yeah, it's funny how family will get accustomed to calling you something that not everybody else calls you. So, it just happens.
Well, for years I had a nickname. As a matter of fact, on my last podcast, I kind of adopted that nickname, or again, a nickname from high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they used to call me Fitty.
Fitty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, on my personal one.
I believe it's your personal one.
Oh, maybe. I may have to change that. But everybody called me Fitty. Wow. Oh, I had many. Let me just say, I had many nicknames. Again, I should probably say Covina High School alum, right?
Yep.
Colts. 96. 99. So not that far away.
Not that far.
We definitely were.
We're getting old.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, dude. Just the other day, I was buying beer, and I had a mask on, because I had to have a mask here in LA County, and the guy goes, "Are you 21?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm 21." I mean, he says, "Are you 21?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm 21." And then he's like, "You're 21?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not 21, but I can buy a beer."
Right.
How old are you? I'm like, "I'm almost 40, dude." And he's like, "You don't look like you're 40." I'm like, "Oh, you can see my eyes." What are you talking about? But anyways, he sold me the beer. And when I said that I'm almost 40, I was like, "Oh, shit, I'm almost 40.
Yeah, it didn't hit me till maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I should say about a year ago.
You're 41.
I'm 42.
42.
But even after I turned 40, I was like, whatever. But about a year ago, I could start feeling it just in my activity.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to run fast and doing those types of things, moving quick.
Yeah.
While trying to play basketball with kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Just
so the body's going
it's
out.
Different.
What about mentally? Like, are you that guy? Like, I know I am. I know I'm starting to get like really not negative, but like that ball comes over here, I'm keeping it. One of those, old man.
You don't want to be called the grumpy old man, right?
Yeah. I'm going there, man. I'm like, hey, don't. That ball's mine.
Right.
No, but I have young kids, but
it I'll be honest with you, certain things do start aggravating you.
Yeah.
After it seems like after 40, it's like you can block certain things out before then and just like whatever, but your nerves get worked a little more after this.
Yeah. You feel like I did my time, dude.
Right.
Like I can say that. I can, especially when it's somebody younger than you, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways,
and especially when they want to act like you've not been there before.
The young ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best. That's like, oh, you're so cute.
That's adorable.
Yeah, that's adorable. But then think about it, right? Like when we were kids,
right?
That's exactly what we were saying to our parents. Like, come on, man.
Exactly.
Like, what do you know? What do you know about this? Well, now we know that they do know. It was a little different. They lived it a little different,
right.
But I think the idea was still the same. The concept.
And it's funny because you don't realize that till now. Like the stuff they used to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, don't do this, don't do that.
Yep.
Or they'd pull you aside and you didn't realize it back then,
No.
why, the significance of it or why it would impact you until now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because when you look back, you think, oh man, if I would have known that, like what I know now, not because they're obviously telling you about it. But when you've already experienced it at this point in life, it's like, man, I would have never done that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, and I agree with you 100% on that one, because there's definitely times that I catch myself sounding like my mom or my dad, like the things that they would say to me.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I catch myself
especially
saying to my
now
kids.
you have kids.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I say that to my kids, you know, like I go, hey, like the most common one is like, dude, I know, trust me, I already know, I've been through it. Like my parents used to tell us like, hey, we already know because we've been through it. They used to tell us that all the time. And I'm like, man, you haven't been through this. You've never been 13 years old. You know what I mean? Like, but
exactly.
Or I would like to say you've never been 13 years old in this country. You've never been 13 years old in the 90s. You know, like those were my kind of things that I would tell my parents. And
well, I think when you've already experienced the effects of whatever they're telling you about, it really resounds in your life all the way up till now, even if it happened 20 years ago, because it impacted you, whether it was bad or good. You know, if you're trying to tell a child like, hey, don't do that, or yeah, you should do that, there's a reason.
Right.
You know, and there's so many times when I wish I could have now gone back and done something differently, way differently, you know, because I think about it, man, that would have altered my life.
Yeah.
That really would have changed the course of my life. Yeah.
Oh, I just thought about that. Was thinking about that this afternoon. You know, if I would have gone, I was gonna wear a USC shirt, but I decided to wear my Iconic. But I was thinking, I would have loved to have gone to college. Oh, you know what? I used to have a Coliseum poster up here, but
right on.
I took it down. It got worn out. But because we celebrated so much, that's why. What was I saying? That I was thinking about something this afternoon that I wish I would have gone to college. You know, I wish. I know right now. Oh, it's not too late. You know,
sure.
you're not that old. You
sure.
know, only 40. You're not even 40 or whatever. But I just think it would have been different if I would have gone to college. You know, it's just that at that time my mindset wasn't there. You know, like now that I'm older, I think after 25, close to 30, was when I was like, man, you know.
Well, there's a big difference to me when you have certain circumstances that alter your life. You know, because for me, not saying that I couldn't have gone to college, but there was a lot of circumstances that just really pushed me in the direction that I went. You know, growing up in a broken home, just being my mom and myself, you know, when I started getting older, I had to really start helping out. So it wasn't just like, you know, where you have kids living in the home with two parents and they don't have to worry about paying for this or that, and they could just go and do whatever they want. Yeah. You know, and nothing wrong with that, but I hope those type of people in that kind of position will take advantage of that. Yeah. Because not all of us, including myself, had that opportunity. Yeah. You know, and going back to just saying that certain circumstances maybe just didn't allow. Right. You know, for college or certain things that you look back and say, man, I should have done that, or I wish I could have done that. You know, I don't beat myself up for anything that I've done. But yeah, there is a lot that I wish I could have done. Yeah. You know, in my life. I try not to say things like I regret, you know, those kind of things, you know, because you're the person, if you're comfortable with who you are today and the person that you are, absolutely, then whatever actions that you made back in the past is what molded you to what you are at today. Right. So now maybe going back and thinking about it, I love drinking beer, you know? Yeah. I love having a good time. I love making people laugh. I love being the center of the attention. I do, you know, that I can honestly tell you Life
that,
of the party, right?
Yeah, I love it, right? Now, rewind, if I would have been in college, can you imagine the kind of college student that I would have been? Partying it up, always getting hammered, like, you know, probably just wasting my money and my time. Yeah. So maybe, you know, that's why.
Everything happens for a reason. Yeah. I'm a firm believer of that. That's why I can honestly say I don't kick myself in the butt for pretty much anything that I've done up to this point, because whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, it made me who I am today. But was there a wish list, or is there a wish list that I would have wish I could have done? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, that's when we get a little older and we start making our bucket list.
Right.
You
And
know?
it goes back to when we try to tell the youngsters these days, like, hey, you know, do this, do that, you know, because of this.
Yeah.
XYZ.
Well, and that's the only thing we can do is we can only guide them. We had talked about this earlier. We can only guide them in the right direction and hope that they do take your advice, or not so much your advice, but because you just said earlier, you know, you live you live through your experience, right? You teach through your experience. It's what you do. It's not what you're saying. It's not what you're telling these kids. They see what you're doing and then they want to
absolutely
imitate, you know?
Absolutely.
That's why they say these kids are sponges. You know, not because of what you're throwing on the sponge, it's what they're absorbing, what they're taking in every day, you know, all day long. So, yeah, I mean, with that said, we want to guide them to go to college, but if not that this is a college episode, guys, it's not. But
well, I would say that as just any type of kind-hearted or good person, you want to just direct youngsters in the way they should go. Right. You know what I mean? You know, I want every young person to succeed. You know, because they're not only are they our future, but that's their life. Right. You know, and now it starts because, like I said, I don't kick myself in the butt, but for the past, but there was a lot of time wasted for things that I did. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And you know, I try to steer nieces and nephews in the way of like, hey, start now. Yeah. Start now. Don't wait another year. You know, don't put that off for another, you know, month or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, do they take it? I hope. Yeah. You know. Well, they're listening. They hear you. Absolutely. They listen. You know, it's just. But ultimately, we're humans. We're gonna do whatever we want to do. Right. If it falls into what we want to do, then we're gonna take that advice. If it doesn't, then. Well, like you said earlier, noted. We've been there. So.
Yeah. Exactly. Right. So, but you know, it's just this life thing is pretty fun, dude. You Absolutely. Know, like just living. Having Absolutely. A good time, being good, teaching, you know, or treating people the right way, you know, being nice, you know, with all this shit going on right now today, it's a little disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get on that soapbox.
No,
but,
we won't
but it's there's no reason why we can't be kind to each other. Right. There's absolutely no reason for that. You know, I'm not trying to get deep or anything, but it's nonsense, man. Yeah. It's nonsense.
And again, I don't want to get too much into it either, but it's crazy that I'm a sports guy. I love sports, right? And I have my teams back here. Yeah. You know my these, and I love sports. And I say my teams, miss my
baseball.
Yeah, exactly, right. But at the same time, why can't we be kind to each other? You know why? Because no, we should be able to, but we've selected teams since we were young. You know, you're on this team, you're on that team. It's true. You know, we teach our kids to like the Lakers, to like the Dodgers, to like the 49ers, you know. So why are we so upset that now they're grown up and choosing sides, choosing teams, you know? There's no more gray areas, you know. Right. But it's because of what we've been teaching them all along. Yeah. Now I know that's like a bold statement, right? And it's a blanket one too, because it can mean so many different things, but it kind of comes back to that is that we've selected teams. Definitely. You know, so one of the things with my son when he was like, "Oh, I want to be a Giants fan and I want to be a Rams fan," and he started jumping around, and I would tease him and stuff like that, but I wasn't that parent that was like, "No, you're not. No, you're not," and I would buy him those things, you know, or not me, but Santa Claus would. Sure. And but because I wanted him to experience it, to learn it, to be able to go back and forth and then find out why now as he gets a little bit older. Yeah. You know, he went back. You know, he's a 49er fan. Obviously, because they had a really good record last year. But that kind of helped. But at the same time, like, now he's a little older. He's starting to understand it. Sure. Like, hey, you know, this is my team now. And this is why. Yeah. But anyways, let's get off that soapbox.
No problem.
Why don't we talk a little bit about your work? I wanted to ask you about your work. Because I know we'll get into the Covina High School thing. Because I have some questions I was going to ask you about that. But because we were talking a bit about what's going on in the situation today. The pandemic, how has it affected your work? You're in marketing, right?
We make marketing products. We do anything that's promotional, from bottles to stickers, banners, signage, full on like displays for retail. Yeah. Displays for outside of stores and anything that has to do with marketing that can be either be printed or produced.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, we do a wide variety. I've been in the printing industry for probably the past a print shop. Let me put it to you this way. I graduated in 96
Mm-hmm.
and my first job was at Sizzler,
Yeah.
which was a restaurant.
Yeah.
And my second job, I was only there for about a year. My second job was at a print shop, and I've been in the printing industry ever since. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Yeah. I started out in production,
Mm-hmm.
and then I became a salesman about 10 years later.
Yeah.
And it just stuck with me.
Yeah.
And that's what I've known for 20 something years.
You gotta do what you know and what you love. So what you love to do, right?
I love it though. I do.
Yeah.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I love business,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my passion.
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about sales, being a businessman. I don't know. I just love that challenge, of closing a deal, closing a customer.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's exciting for me.
Yeah.
So I've just always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to tying it into today's challenge of the pandemic of people spending less money now, less advertising or marketing. So have you noticed it in your job? Or
let me put it to you this way. It's not so much of the money aspect of people not having the money to spend. It's the fact that the factories have not been able to operate. And so as a manufacturing, somebody in the manufacturing circle, I've got people that are still asking me for stuff, but our turnaround times are months out because it takes forever for us to, you have manufacturers that are not working as many hours and they're down to very minimal staff.
Yeah.
Because they can't be in the shop and you can't have so many people in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
You've
heard about all the people that have been furloughed or whatever.
Exactly. So it's not so much that they can't spend, it just can't be produced.
Yeah.
And especially the fact that a good portion of my product comes out of overseas, that's put a huge damper on business. And so
so I mean, like you say, it's affected your business, right? Do you get a fear of maybe like the customer going, hey, you know what, I'm gonna go look for someone that's gonna make it right away? Like, do you or
with the pandemic, I don't fear that too much because of the fact that it's a pretty blanket situation throughout the whole industry. People will say that to kind of try and get their way.
Or try to rush it,
right?
like hurry,
exactly, to kind of to just get their way and get what they want. But it's like, go ahead and try. Yeah. It's just that's where it is. Yeah. It's like, go ahead and try because I guarantee you're gonna get the same answer I'm giving you from the next person. So. And
how loyal are some of your customers? I mean, like when I say that, I only say that because I've been saying this a lot in with talking to some of the friends that I have on.
Sure.
Is there's so many people that are doing the exact same thing right now, from print, podcasting.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you kind of have to sell yourself now. That's what I feel. Like now you're selling yourself. Yeah. So you have to build that relationship, that one-on-one. That's why I was telling you that it's so important to have like a brick and mortar or keeping that brick and mortar and not doing everything online only.
Absolutely.
Because people still want that old school of seeing you, talking with you 10 or 15 minutes. Let's go have a coffee. Let's go golfing, like
absolutely
that kind of thing. Like, and that's what I was asking about your customers. Have you built that kind of relationship with your customers?
Absolutely. I actually applaud a lot of my customers, those of you that are hopefully watching, because they've stuck with me, even with lengthy turnarounds, the constant, hey, I'm sorry, it's going to be a little longer, et cetera, et cetera. They've stuck with me, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of understanding throughout this pandemic. And, it just kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier in regards to just being kind to each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are circumstances that are out of our control.
Right.
You know what I mean? So why can't you be understanding?
Mm-hmm.
And it just hopefully resonates through the business realm.
Yeah.
As not just, person to person, but hey man, just be understanding.
Yeah.
You know, this is where we're at. You see what's going on. This is all I can do. My hands are tied.
And you just said it right now, though, that it comes back to that old saying, hey, man, it's just business. Nothing personal.
Right.
It's just business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
So if I'm
Absolutely.
going to find something better, I'm going to go that way.
But you know what's cool is what you were talking about, the relationships and,
Right.
and being in business and being a salesman for so many years. When you build those relationships, it rarely comes down to, oh, it's just business, because you have such a great
rapport with that.
Well, you've built a friendship. I
Right.
mean, I have customers that I don't do business with anymore because we've, you know, either gone to different companies, either they have or I have or whatever, but we're still friends.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone out to eat or whatever. It's just building that relationship, you know, and it's cool because it's hard to leave a relationship when it's a good one.
Right.
You know, and that you hit it on the head earlier. You know, building good relationships.
I feel that strongly, dude. I mean, I'm not in sales, but I'm in the service, right? I'm in the service business and in the industry. So, just like anybody could do what I do, it's my job to keep that relationship. So I'm always like, it might take me a little longer. I might spend 5 or 10 minutes extra when I could be. Time is money, you know. I could be doing other work in those 5 or 10 minutes. I can do a lot of work in 5 or 10 minutes, you know?
Well, the other part to it is, and some awesome person recently told me, and it's true, not that I didn't know this already, but this person told me this, and it just still rung true big time in life and in business, that word of mouth, you know, whether it's, hey, I know Fidel, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I know Fidel, go use him because he produces T-shirts and he does a good job.
Right.
Oh, why? Because, well, I've known him for years and he's just a good friend of mine.
Right.
You know, so word of mouth is one of the best advertising points of sale that you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
So it would behoove you to not create a relationship with your customers. And that's what I've tried to do. You know, I try to get to know who they are on a personal level. You know, being in business, you know, you go out and you take people to lunch and whatnot, and people know if you're real or not.
Yeah.
And so they can tell if you're just out, you know, servicing. Oh, I'm taking you to lunch because you're my top customer, you're my top account.
Right.
Or if you're actually into who they are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you just got to be genuine and build those relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of your oldest, I should say, let's see, I guess subjects or not subjects, but like the things that you've worked with for so many years. You mentioned earlier was cars, automotive, right?
Absolutely.
NHRA specifically, right? You said something about NHRA. Your brother worked there or something like that?
Yeah, my brother worked for NHRA for over 18 years.
Over 18 years. So you do a lot of business with those companies, or?
Well, I've been in the I've been around the racing industry for, you know, I would say that many years, if not more. Yeah. Because in the advertising industry, it ranges throughout almost any type of business. So you have when you say any type of business, it could be any industry, whether it's the automotive industry, the outdoor skate, surf, snowboard, fishing, to food. Yeah. To clothing, you know,
podcasting.
When you guys go when we go to Target and we go to any of these stores and you see the signage, you see the big banners or whatever displaying the product, that's produced by one of us. Right. So it's just that's what I think I've gravitated towards the printing industry so much because it's so broad, and the amount of business is almost endless. Yeah. So
I'm sure, like, if you look around, there's probably tons of things over here that you could produce, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's why you're saying the range is off the roof.
Anything. One of the thoughts that I've always had in my head is anything with color has been produced. Yeah. You know, so, you know, unless you just get a piece of plain board and you write with a pen or a marker, I should say. You know, it's been produced somewhere. Yeah,
which sometimes works for lemonade stands. Right?
Hey, somebody's got to start somewhere, right?
Right, exactly. But no, that's cool. No, I mean, like you said, so I see, because I was going through your Instagram. That's how I told you I do my research.
Sure.
I do research. Some people say that it's called trolling, you know, or not trolling, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, you can call it what you want.
It's research.
Sure.
So I'm going through it, and you have all these pictures of like of these cars. Like how was it like meeting drivers?
So going back to the whole range of industries, there are trade shows that are pretty much for every industry.
Okay.
I mean, even pet food. There's a trade show for pet food.
Yeah.
Pet food, pet products, everything that has to do with pets.
Yeah.
There's a trade show for the automotive. There's actually a couple of them, maybe more than a couple, but the bigger ones, there's probably two big ones that are just catered towards automotive.
I know you mentioned one of them was like SEMA, right?
SEMA is a very big trade show. So going back to what your question was in regards to all these cars, I mean, when you go to these trade shows, they just show all their product, but they bring in cars. They bring in, you know, they want you to see their product in a car or on a car or whatever. A company like Mother's Polish, you know, they make polish, but you'll go to their booth at a trade show and they've got cars, beautiful cars.
Yeah.
And so that's probably what you've seen on my Instagram is just a ton of, you know, different cars that were at these trade shows that I've been to. And SEMA, you're going to see a lot more cars than a show called PRI, which is the Performance Racing Industry Show. And the Performance Racing Industry Show is more geared towards actual racers, where it's NASCAR, drag racing, your average just street racer. Whereas SEMA is more like everything and anything. It's so huge, and it's if you're into cars, SEMA's the one to go to.
Yeah, I've never, and I say that because I had never been to a car show ever.
Oh, really?
Ever. I mean, the closest thing is the Truckers Wanted job fair that they have, and they have their trucks are all.
Oh, okay.
They're all dolled up and shined up.
Sure.
Same thing. I see that the polishers, you know, they have this truck and they put their stuff displayed next to it. It's all polished up. So I've seen all that, but I've never been to like an auto show. You know how they have like the auto show, they bring out the new concept vehicles or whatever. I've never been to any of those. So it always looks cool, but for some reason, man, I don't know. I don't get drawn into it.
Really?
But I saw your pictures and I'm like, that look really cool, man. Like,
yeah, it's a fun industry because a lot of people are very tight knit in that industry. I mean, they know each other, and you talk about people that are passionate about something. Yeah. I mean, you see people talk about car parts, you would think like, oh, that's something that I just need, you know, when my car starts breaking down.
Right, yeah.
You got guys that are really enthusiastic about car parts. Yeah. I mean, it's their life.
They fix them up, right?
Yeah,
get accessories and get it all dolled up.
Who's got the best this? Who's got the best that? It's amazing the stories, the conversations you hear at these trade shows over car parts. You know, and but it's a fun industry. I mean, if you like racing, it's like a kid in a candy store when you go to these shows. Yeah.
Some of the kid in the candy store like that. I hardly ever use it. I use it before. I gotta start using that one. I can imagine those gun shows though, right? Kid in the candy store.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, have you been to one of those?
Now, the reason why I haven't is because they're very difficult to get into. You have to basically be in the industry. So they don't really want just anybody like manufacturers of advertising, you know, printers and just people that are not actually in the industry. And then you also have to have, I believe, certain licenses to get in there. So it's not one of those shows like a SEMA where almost anybody and everybody could go to because of the magnitude of the safety for one.
Right.
And then,
well, because people are carrying, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
I've heard.
I've never been to it, but I mean, the biggest thing is the weapons are there.
Yeah.
You know, so you can't have people that pose a threat, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
In an environment like that. So they're just very particular about who's let in. And so it's not because I've gone to bicycle trade shows where you see just your average consumer walking the show. Yeah. And they're not even there in business or for business. They're just they're just consumers wanting to see the latest parts and latest bikes. Yeah. Same thing with SEMA. Excuse me. But in the ammo hunting, tactical industry,
Yeah.
it's a whole different world, man. Because you know, again, I would say one of the number one things is safety.
Yeah.
You know, so they don't just let anybody in. So, long story short, I've not been to one of those, but I'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I you know what? Because I've heard. I mean, it all makes sense, of course, now that you say that. But I've heard of people like buying guns there, right? Because they have a whole bunch of people just buy guns. I really assume that maybe I can just buy my ticket and just walk right in and get myself a gun. But no, you gotta have your license, right? To
let me rephrase my answer.
So you have
there are gun shows that are smaller and cater more towards the consumer, where you can go there. But I guess where I was coming from, when you because there's main industry trade shows that are not for the consumer, and that's the ones that I mainly went to, or I've mainly gone to.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah.
So
you're going like as far as your going into
as far as business, like the main it's called SHOT Show, and that's the huge. It's in Vegas, and that's the biggest guns, ammo show in the United States that you can go to. Now, there's smaller ones here and there, again, that just cater more towards the consumer, so that you can go in there and actually buy a gun. But a lot of the trade shows, and this is what I was going to say by rephrasing, are more business to business. So they're only dealing with dealers. You know, gun shops, etc., things like that. So, you know, your Bass Pro shops and things like that. So that's who their manufacturers are there for. They're not there just for Joe Blow off the street to come in and try and buy a gun. So
that makes sense. Good thing you clarified that for me, because I was thinking, just walk right into it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when I was saying, you know, and again, the way I was thinking when you first posed the question was the big main industry trade shows. Those are hard to get into. But yeah, you can, I mean, there's smaller ones where they literally sell to consumers. And yeah, I think you pay like, I don't know, 10, 12, 17 bucks to get in. And yeah, you can walk the show and whatnot, but you're not going to have everything and anything in the tactical industry like the SHOT Show would.
Right.
So, cause they're more business to business. So,
you know, off topic, do you ever do, any kind of bartering with your business? Have you ever done any of that?
I try not to, because then you get customers that get used to that, and I gotta make a living.
Of course, right? Yeah. No, I've only say that because there's a lot of people right now that have, during this pandemic, like that's what they've been doing. You know, they've been bartering. Like, absolutely. Hey, I have a special skill that I'm gonna trade you for your special skill. You know,
absolutely.
And I always remember the movie with John Travolta. It was called the Phenomenon. Is it Phenomenon?
I think so.
Where he gets like struck by lightning or something like that.
I've never seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, something like that. I'm sure somebody will correct us or me. But you know, he had this thing where he did like a bartering thing, and then they had an issue, a problem, and then 5 people were involved, and then I'll do your job, you do this one, you do this one, I need this one, and then the problem was fixed.
Right.
Off of just bartering.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, when you get in a pinch, and that's the other thing about the printing industry, and you know quite a bit of people, and quite a bit of people know you're able to work things out when you need something in a tough pinch, or I mean, you're down to a deadline for something and this customer needs it. You know, there's certain people, if you're known and you've created relationships with people in the industry, that will help you out.
Yeah.
But as far as bartering, I mean, I try to stay away from that, because I guess I don't want to set a standard of doing stuff like that.
Go to Paul. He's willing to barter.
Exactly.
Right. That makes sense. Do you
start getting known for... He'll...
Yeah, go to him. He'll hook you up. All you got to do is buy
drop him a 20.
Yeah. No, do you consider your business, is it small business or is it a large company?
I'm considered a small business.
Small business.
It's growing. We've only been in business for 3 years. And you know, we were really getting ready to take off here before the pandemic, and that just dampened. I mean, it put a halt to a lot of things that I was working on, big things that I was working on. And talk about being frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I can
just,
imagine.
Just frustrated when you're on the brink of big things, and then something that you didn't even expect comes out of the blue. I mean, literally, this pandemic shut a lot of things down.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I mean, just now, people are. I mean, they're starting to reopen things up. You know, but
right.
For weeks, couple months already, we've been closed down or whatever. You know,
that's costly.
Oh yeah.
And when I say costly, it's not just so much monetary, meaning money. It's just, I mean, projects that you were starting to work on in the beginning of before the pandemic, they were put on hold.
Yeah.
You know, there was a customer that I did literally samples for overseas, and when the pandemic hit, they were getting ready to cut the purchase order, and they were like, it just doesn't make sense for us right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all this work leading up to it, and then for it to come to a screeching halt, it's like, yeah.
Have you guys been recovering from that already, or have you seen it
in a
wheels
sense,
in motion?
but not so much.
Yeah.
It's at the point of let's reopen the conversation about what we were dealing with. So that's a good thing. You know, it's getting to the point of, hey, let's get talking about that project again. Let's get this thing going. But it's like you're back to square one in a sense, you know, so if that's making any sense.
No, it does, yeah.
So that's the frustrating part. But to answer your question, in a nutshell, it is starting to slowly get back to, you know, life.
Yeah. No, and the reason I asked you about the small business, large company was, are you your business? Are you guys doing work for like a soccer mom that needs a soccer banner, or are you doing just like
to be honest with you? I mean, we can, but we cater more towards business to business. Yeah. So brands, you know, we're that's why we're called Panoramic Marketing Products.
Yeah.
We do a wide variety of products, but we also, I mean, we can do 1 to 1 million, you know, and the main thing that I was getting to was that marketing products, we try not to do anything outside of that. So we just gear towards businesses.
Yeah.
So it's all marketing products. It's not, I mean, excuse me, obviously your soccer mom and whatnot, it's for advertising of their sport team or whatnot, but it's not really business to business. And the reason why we try to stick with business to business is because of the volume.
Yeah.
You know, we don't make much money off of one.
Right.
You know, so, and that's just not the type of company we are. We try to cater towards the bigger volume because we deal with manufacturers that are running presses that don't just, it costs more to just run one as opposed to 1,000 or 5,000. Right. You know, so. Well,
no, and it makes sense to have an identity, you know, for your business, right? Like, you know, you're not going to be wide and open it up to, because then you're going to get those.
Yeah, and again, it's not knocking the ones and the twos. It's just that's what we cater towards.
Yeah.
And if I open my doors to the, you know, I just need one banner, or I just need one sticker, it just it basically takes more time for us to work on something that's not going to give us what we're looking for as a company.
Yeah.
You know, so obviously every company has direction, and, you know, we have direction. So that's not our direction. You know, there are small shops. I mean, you can go to Kinko's for one banner. Yeah. You know, you can go to Staples for one, and that's who they cater towards. Yeah. You know, we cater towards, you know, a company that's in the Supercross where they're putting banners at a race and they're using, you know, 20 to 30 banners per race. So when they place an order, they're ordering like 500 banners to 1,000 banners.
Right.
You know, so just to kind of put it in a nutshell, that's basically the type of business that we are and what we do in regards to direction of the company.
Yeah. That's cool. And it also, what I liked is that about that is that it leaves room for someone that's trying to start a printing company or something from their garage, you know, to maybe in hopes to build something as great as, you
again, know, direction, you know, there are companies that's their direction.
Yeah.
that's what they cater towards. You know, they thrive off of the person just walking in saying, hey, I just want a sticker for the side of my car.
Yeah.
That's not us, you know, but there is a niche for that. There is I guess you could call it a category for that. So yeah, I mean, it's the printing industry is pretty wide, and that's what I like about it. But I've just grown up in the business to business. Yeah. And I enjoy it.
It's part of that evolution, you know, your
it
evolution from the years of from producing to sales, and now you're running your own.
It is.
Your own shop.
And it's funny how, going back to our first conversation, the beginning of our conversation, you know, how we talked about certain circumstances kind of geared you in the direction you're in.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I never thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be in the printing industry. You know, I wasn't in high school thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be a printer or going to be, you know, owning a printing company. I always knew I wanted to do business because I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy business. But once I got into it, it just stuck with me. Yeah. And I enjoy it. I mean, I know it.
You're good at it. You
know, when you know specs, when you know certain things, when you know the ins and outs of how things are produced, and you can explain it to somebody, especially a customer, it's like it just grew on you almost. You know what I mean? And that's what I've known for the past, I don't know how many years, at least 20. And so for me to try and go into another industry, I don't even know if I could.
That's a tough one right there. For so many years,
it's just, again, especially when you know the ins and outs of it, it's hard to deviate. Like, for me to just up and start doing something else, not that I couldn't, but it's like, I know this.
Well, yeah, why go? I mean, if it's everything's going good,
right?
And well, the good thing is that you have goals, though. You know, you have goals for your business, for the company.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's good to keep setting those goals.
Absolutely.
Right? Keeps you working, keeps you going at it, working at
Definitely.
it. That was actually what I was gonna ask you when you had mentioned it about you never thought you were gonna be doing printing. Was it going back to Covina High School? Did you take any CAD classes or anything like that?
Honestly, I didn't.
Graphic arts or anything like that?
I never did. What happened, as I mentioned before, was the second job that I had outside of high school just happened to be a printing company. Yeah. And it stuck with me. I mean, I started in production, being a pressman's assistant, and it's like, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Yeah. If you've never been in a print shop and just seen how things are done, you know, obviously, like I was saying, you know, you go into your local retail store and you see all the signage and banners and whatnot, but nobody knows how that's done. Yeah. You know, if you've never really seen it on a press and seen the ins and outs of artwork and how artwork's created, how it goes from being on a file on your computer to being printed on a press. Yeah. There's a lot to it. Yeah. And it stuck with me because I learned it. Yeah. You know, and when you learn something, you're like, well, especially at a young age, out of high school, you're like, well, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is what I'm going to do. And it just stuck with me. And then once I got into being a salesman, it just even further, I was like, I could sell this stuff because I know it.
Because you explained it right. That's the major part of selling it, right?
Exactly. I mean, when you know the product, you could sell it. Yeah. And you have to have a mouth too. Yeah. Not so much just a mouth, but you know, you gotta. Sales isn't for everybody because you got to be able to be approachable and you got to be able to approach. Yeah. And there's people that are fearful of approaching, you know, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but, you know, back in the day, an old boss of mine would say, man, that guy has no fear. Because I would be able to walk up to anybody at a trade show and just strike up a conversation. Yeah. And then get their business card. And before you know it, I'm quoting them on stickers or banners or whatever. Yeah. And it's just something that, you know, I guess you could say God gave me because I like doing it and I could do it.
Well, you're comfortable at it. You know, if you're uncomfortable talking, then you probably shouldn't be in sales, right? Absolutely. And if you're not good at taking rejection, because you're in sales, you're gonna get rejected probably more times than you sign deals, right? Right. Then you should be comfortable with that, you know. And that's why it's hard for a lot of people to be in sales. I personally can be in sales. I am an approachable person. Yeah. I could approach people. I just hate. I feel like, hey man, you need this product. You know, like you need it. No, I don't. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And then once it's like, I just don't want to deal with all that BS,
Sure.
But you know how they say, like, you can sell, a good salesperson can sell ice to an Eskimo. Is that the same? Did I say it right?
Basically.
Some of that.
Yeah.
But it's true though, because if you can explain to somebody how they do need this, then that's how you close the deal, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing for our industry is that, and I was kind of talking to you about this earlier before we got on, there's multiple people doing the same thing, and usually using the same manufacturers. Mm-hmm. It really, in our industry, goes down to relationship. And the product that you produce for these customers, they want it done a certain way, which is good quality, and they want it done in a timely manner. Mm-hmm. Hence the damper that this pandemic's put on us. Yeah. But all those things that are just more customer service based is what keeps customers with you, mm-hmm. keeps them coming back to you. And so now if you're talking to a new person that just started their business and they know nothing about, hey, I need these marketing items and I know nothing about them. A lot of times when they're first starting out, for me, mm-hmm. it's great because, I can explain to them and they're like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. I mean, stick with him because he knows his stuff. Yeah. So it is true in a sense. But 9 times out of 10 in what I do, you're already dealing with the marketing person that's been dealing with this type of stuff for whether it's the artwork or whether it's the design of it or whether it's the build of it, how something's being built. They already have known about it. Mm-hmm. Because the other thing is that we 9 times out of 10 as the producer, we just produce. We don't do any of the design most of the time. Okay. So your design and your actual specs are coming from the marketing department at that business. Okay. So once you talk to the marketing person and they give you all that information, all the tools you need to just go to press, that's pretty much all we do. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, really the explanation of it doesn't do too much for our business. Again, only if maybe they're new. Yeah. But it's just that relationship, man. It's the relationship.
It goes back to that, right?
And the customer service. Yeah. Those two things, relationship and customer service. I mean, if you have poor customer service, obviously Right. If you order something from somewhere and mm-hmm. they don't get it to you in time or it comes
or the way
damaged,
you want it, yeah.
You're like, I ain't going there again.
Yeah. No, and that goes for any kind of business, really. It's that customer service and being able to go beyond that expectation.
Absolutely.
So
that's the key thing, mm-hmm. Because no matter how close a friend I can make out of a customer, when you do them wrong, it can really burn a bridge.
Oh yeah.
And just like word of mouth is great in advertising and mm-hmm. bringing you business, one bad word of mouth could just ruin your whole reputation.
Yelp, right? Yelp. I'm not big on Yelp because there's just so many people that like to just be negative and post all this crap. Yeah. That's why I'm like, nah, I gotta try it out. But I get what you're saying though. One bad review. That's all it takes. That's why it's so important to, hey, let me go in there and rebuke this,
Absolutely.
Is that the right word? Rebuke? Can we say, we'll just say rebuke.
We could say that. We could say that. But going on that, it's a big thing that when you do have that relationship, that you do your best for your customer. And that's all a part of the customer service. Because you're not perfect, Right. Something's going to happen wrong every now and then. But as long as you take care of them, that's why I'm saying the relationship and the customer service. Yeah. Because how grateful are we when Amazon says, oh, don't worry about sending it back. We'll just send you a new one at no cost. Mm-hmm. It's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah. Well, then you're like, what else can I order and do the same thing?
Exactly. Yeah. And, well, let me order something else.
Yeah.
But honestly, all joking aside, that's the way it is in sales and
mm-hmm.
business.
Yeah.
You just... To me, it comes down to just being a truthful, good person and doing what you're supposed to do and keeping your word. Mm-hmm. You keep your word at what you're telling the customer. And even if your word gets faulty because of the situation and what I mean by that is, hey, I know I told you it's going to be done in 3 weeks, but hey, this pandemic just hit. It's going to be 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you communicate that customer service always stays through the whole process, they're going to come back to you.
That's key. Communication right there.
Absolutely.
No matter what, good or bad, it's as long as you're communicating.
Absolutely.
Not commuting.
Communicating. Customer service.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's key.
Yeah.
It's key.
I love it, dude. I mean, I think you kind of gave us a little lesson on business, man, and in your particular business too.
Sure.
But in general, I think it works for any business.
Well, going back to our age, it's funny, you know, when we were talking about our age, it's interesting because you don't realize till now, like, how long you've been doing something.
Yeah.
And when I say, like, oh man, I've been in the industry for 21 years or whatever, I'm just like, sometimes it just hits me after I say it, like, wow, I've been doing this for that long.
Yeah, right. You think about it, like, dang. Yeah.
You know, you always think about your parents, you know, back in the day saying, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 25 10 years or yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And now you're at that point almost, you know.
You don't put too much thought into that when they say it, but now that, like you said, like,
absolutely,
it's a different perspective that you get from it now.
Big time.
It makes sense.
Big time, and it hits me sometimes because I'm just going, man, I've been doing this for that long.
Yeah.
You know, I just sometimes I just can't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like it was just yesterday that I started doing what I do, and yeah, it's just interesting once you start getting older.
Yeah. Well, man, as we close this show down, I wanted to ask you if you can put your goals out there right now for your business. What is it that I'm sure you've already thought of it. Your 5 year, your 10 years. What do you have for your business as far as your goals?
Let's start short term. Let's get through this pandemic.
We'll get through it. It's our. We've already seen.
Yeah.
No.
To be honest with you, at least 5 to 10 year, within the first 5 years, my hope is to be at a position where I've got at least a few employees and more of an office as opposed to just working outside of my home. 10 year wise, just continuing with what I'm doing, because I really don't plan on being, you know, super ginormous company.
Yeah.
I just I love what I do, and where it goes, my plan is just to be successful. I don't really have drive to be like super billionaire. You know, it's just not. It's not something I really am thriving for, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But just to be successful, man, because it's what I've known, like I said, for the past 20 something years. And to try and deviate from it would be difficult. So I'm just trying to make success out of what I know and what I love to do. It's honestly, business is a passion. And the reason why I could say that for myself is because when I was younger, I always told myself, like, I don't want to just clock in and out and be like the guy waiting for 2-3 years for them to give me $1 or 50-cent raise.
Yeah, right.
Like, I've always had a mentality of going and getting what I want.
Yeah.
And that's what sales is. I mean, doing business, it's like, especially at a trade show, it's a smorgasbord of business.
Right.
Once you walk into that trade show and there's all these companies there, you know, that's why we walk the show for at least 2-3 days, for however long the show lasts. We're there that many days to see everybody and anybody that we could possibly try and get business from.
Maybe once or twice, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Go back and talk to them again. You know, if there's people that weren't available, you create strategies, you get business cards. I mean, yeah. But back to your question, I mean, it's I just want to be successful. I'm not trying to be like super huge.
Yeah.
But at least 5 year, 10 year, I want to be at a point where I'm not really working out of my home anymore, where I at least have an office with a few people that are helping out. It kind of shows the magnitude of our business that, hey, they need some employees because they're not that small.
Yeah.
You know, it is nice right now because I can do it on my own and I don't really have to pay anybody else. But I want to get to that point where, wow, this is a lot of business. I need help.
Where you have a team. Yeah.
Exactly.
They finally have Christmas parties.
Exactly.
Not just a party
at least a
of
Christmas
one.
dinner.
Yeah. Party of one.
Right.
At the claim jumper. No, that's cool. That's awesome, man. I think it's good. You know, that you have your own business. You went on your own. You're doing your thing. That's awesome, dude. That's really cool.
Absolutely. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on here and just talk.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming out here. And making the time.
Cool, man.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. This is Fidel. That's Paul. This is Talking Again Podcast. We're closing out the tap.
He's closing out the tap.
All right. Another episode of Talking Again Podcast is in the books. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date. If you enjoyed the show, please tell your friends and family so you can share the experience. Now, it's time to close out the tap.